It is before dawn when I see a beam of light descending from the sky in the direction of the mountains, somewhere in the woods. It has been a few hours since Milo's group left Blackpond, not knowing where the travelers would appear. I suppose that Milo went toward the center of Aegis and tried to reach the plains to have the best vantage point for this moment, now that everyone knows where to go. I watch the spectacle from the palisade. After a few restless hours of sleep, I go outside to think of my next moves. The palisade is lifeless in the gray morning light. We have 2 gates, and at night the only guards are stationed at those gates. After overpowering the Kartusk warriors decades ago, there was little need for high vigilance, as this had been a time of relative peace. I come up with a plan to reinforce my position through old alliances. I will send diplomats to Kots and to the City of Wardens. I would go myself, but Debra would use it to undermine me. Besides, no one knows what Milo and his group will bring or when they will return. I need to be ready for anything. First thing in the morning, I schedule a meeting with the diplomats and explain the situation to them. Be honest, I say bluntly. There's no point in beating around the bush about our food situation at this point. Try to open talks about trade once more. We could provide a stable resource of wood to the City of Wardens. As for Kots, we don't have much to offer, but perhaps they could examine our soil and find out why our fields yield less and less each year. I take a long look at my friends. Scar and Emanu are not just diplomats, but old comrades from our travels across Aegis during our youth. Guys, we're entering a time that could bring a lot of trouble. My wife is planning to take power in Blackpond with Milo's help, I say, the uncomfortable truth. I feel a flicker of sorrow, but they don't look surprised. Emanu nods, and his face grows serious. We know that Debra has been visiting the most powerful families in Blackpond, trying to get on the same page with them. She is using this bad situation to her advantage. He starts. He looks to Scar, unsure whether to continue. After a short pause, he goes on. I would have come to you sooner, but I was thinking she is just fooling around. Scar crosses his arms, frowning. Debra is pointing to our food shortage and peddling simple solutions that stoke fear. I heard she's even saying that all outsiders who haven't lived in Blackpond for at least 2 generations need to be outcast. She claims they have no place among us and are just a few hundred empty stomachs to feed. Scar shakes his head. When I first heard that, I thought it was a joke or something. I feel a chill. This is sinister. Actually, this makes sense, I realize aloud. She's using the prevailing sentiment and unresolved issues from the past to win powerful people to her side. It's much easier to point at some minority and blame them than to build trust. This is even more serious than I expected. I'm sure at least a few of the old families are on board with this. Emanu adds, we also need to make it clear that Milo's expedition is not Blackpond's stance. It's a big issue since we have no idea what they will do or whom they might encounter. In the best-case scenario, they find no one and come home by evening. But I fear that other factions, driven mad by the travelers' legends, may run into them. After a few more suggestions from Emanu and Scar, they get ready for their diplomatic journeys. I meanwhile begin planning meetings with the most important families to do some damage control after Debra's rampage. It's a long and agonizing day. I manage to visit most of them and begin to realize that we may have a problem. Half of the families are tired of my diplomacy and drawn-out politics. They want faster, more radical solutions. Of course, they aren't communicating this directly, but after a career as a diplomat, I have a sense of what people want and how decisions affect them. The other half of the families are more progressive and still believe there may be a way to handle the situation diplomatically and prosper in the future. By evening, I feel tired and like this whole situation is slipping out of my hands. If Milo comes back with travelers or some kind of trade or wealth, he will surely win public favor and could effectively enact Debra's plan to outcast minorities who are not originally from Blackpond. I don't even want to imagine what would happen to Blackpond then, as it could lead to aggression and alienate some of our former allies who have people living among us. It's late evening and I haven't seen Debra since last night. I'm not sure what she's up to, but I know for a fact that she is in agony, anxiously awaiting her brother's return. To be honest with myself, I feel the same tense anticipation because it will decide what happens next. My last hope now rests on Scar and Emanu, though it may prove to be my last attempt that won't change anything. Nothing. All day and night, most of Blackpond waited to see what Milo's group would bring. But the group is nowhere to be seen. Nothing at all. No one returned. No message. In the evening, I saw Debra pacing nervously from window to window, a spark of hope in her eyes to be the first to welcome her brother and the power she would gain with him. At dawn, still nothing. I am with Scar and Emanu, wishing them the best of luck. They are ready and heading to our old allies. All my hopes are on them now. Even if Milo returns empty-handed, I will still need to take control of the situation and have an action plan in place to address this food shortage in the coming years, as it is becoming more and more urgent. The second day arrives, and still nothing. No sign of Milo or anyone from his party. This starts to feel wrong. Something must have happened. I may have to send someone to start looking for them, but that would signal that I approved of their actions and would play into Debra's plan. Anyway, we'll wait and see on the third day. The situation is bound to change for sure. Even Emanu from Couts might return by then. It's the third day. Still no news. I occupy myself by studying old alliance declarations to maybe find something that could help strengthen our position in the eyes of others. I hold meetings to organize the storage of the food and rations we have for this season. Expanding our fields and farms each year is necessary just to maintain a basic level of survival. There is always so much work. It's good these days that at least I am focusing on something I can change and help with, which lets me forget about the travelers and the unease of these times. There is also the problem that if something happened to Milo and his party, we will need to form another hunting group, since most of those men were also our hunters, and they were keeping us from starvation. As the third day ends, I give the order to form a smaller hunting party. 3 men from the militia. I know they will not find much game, as they have little experience with hunting, but we need at least some hope. They are to check the traps for small game and reset them. We must keep going no matter what. Blackpond will not starve to death. This is my mantra now, and it keeps me working non-stop with only a few hours of sleep each day. On the 4th day, I encounter Debra, and she looks awful. I mean, I'm not looking great either, but I have work that keeps me going. She, on the other hand, has pinned all her hopes on Milo, and he is nowhere to be seen. I hate you. What have you done to Milo? Did you sabotage him? Admit it. Debra yells at me, her eyes wild with anger and despair. She is sleep-deprived and on the verge of panic. I don't know what to say, so I just stand there and look at her in disbelief. I am going to take you down, even if it's the last thing I do, she screams, and storms out of the house into the cold morning. She is desperate, and I fear she may do something stupid. The idea of having her arrested flashes through my mind, but that would undermine my public image. If I cannot handle my own household affairs, how am I suited to handle Blackpond's situation? Emanu! I spring to my feet from behind the desk when I see my aide at the door, asking to come in. I was expecting you yesterday. What happened? I ask, going to greet him. But when I see his expression up close, I know something is terribly wrong. His face is full of worry. Dan, we have a problem, Emanu says in a hoarse whisper. Milo and his group met some people from Hill Castle and went traveling with them. They were very aggressive and tried to capture travelers by force. They even attacked a warrior from Couts, and that same warrior saw them fighting against wizards. He hadn't even finished speaking when I knew this was the worst-case scenario. How could those young boys be so stupid? Emanu continues. I waited longer than expected to hear back from Cortes. They have plenty of work with the wounded, since they encountered the Kartusk warriors. Holy fuck, I blurt out. I thought that was the worst-case scenario, but it's even worse. The Kartusk are back. Did you tell anyone else? We have to present this to the people very carefully, or they might lose it. This is more than ever the time to bring the old alliances together. Please tell me Kotz is on board with that. Emanu shakes his head. Kotz is leaning more toward isolation. Apparently they don't know whom they can trust, as they have been attacked from all sides, even involving Milo. I know, I say bleakly. I know this will be a long journey to regain Kot's trust. Worse yet, it's at a time when we need allies the most. We have nothing, no food, no armies, and now no allies. As Emanu and I discuss what else the Kot's diplomat told him and consider possible next moves, a young militia recruit bursts into the room, out of breath. His face is ashen. We found one of Milo's group, he pants. Dead, mutilated in the woods. I've never seen anything like it. There was a note pinned to him. It says, "Deliver us 10 boys and 10 girls no older than 3 years old, or we will retaliate."